Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Misha and I talk about Azure DevOps and infrastructure as code. And today I want to give a bit of a demonstration of deploying MkDocs to Azure. I started this little project on my day off because at work we were discussing moving away from SharePoint for our documentation. And I was very happy to hear that because I love Markdown and I think that's a much better way to have your content. And MkDocs has been on my radar for a while, but I haven't played around with it. So I had my day off. I thought, I want to play around with it, and then I discovered how I can deploy it to Azure, and I want to share it with you today. So what is MkDocs? MkDocs is it's a static website generator. Basically, you create a collection of Markdown files, and MkDocs generates an HTML static website from that. Very much like my own website. This is done with Hugo, and it's just a GitHub repo with Markdown files, and Hugo generates a website out of this. And MkDocs does the same. This website is actually generated by MkDocs, so here you see already how it's going to look. One other example is, for example, the Argo CD documentation. This is also generated with MkDocs. So you probably recognize this layout. It's it's used a lot in the open source community, and it's just a nice way of generating searchable content. So the search works really well. So if I go and search for secret, for example, here, you get, as you see, the search works really well, and it's just a very nice looking, very smooth looking way of organizing and presenting your documentation. So it's very easy to actually deploy this, and I'm going to show you that. So to start, you need to have an Azure DevOps organization. I'm going to be using Azure DevOps for this example, and in the organization you create a repository. So you just go to repos and then you do new repository, and then I created this MkDoc, and this is the standard repository that you get. It's just empty. So I'm going to clone this, and all right, just clone. I'll go to my repos and git clone MkDoc. So now I have my MkDoc repo on my local computer, and I go into it. So let's just take a look at the getting started guide of MkDocs. It's a very, very good guide. It says to pip install MkDocs. I've already done that, but that's if you have Python running on your computer, then you can install MkDocs this way. And then it says MkDocs new my project and cd into it. Well, since we have our repo here, I'll just go one layer back. So this is the repository. So I'll do MkDocs new MkDoc. And now if we go into the MkDoc repository again, we see that there are a few files in here. Git status. It created a docs folder and a MkDocs.yaml. And let's take a look at that MkDocs.yaml. Here it just says the site name and my docs. So that's and if you go into docs here, then there are a few markdown files in here already. And this is actually the contents from which it will generate the website. So you have a collection of markdown files, and now you have to create a website out of it. So how does that work? This works by running the MkDocs build command from within the repository. And now you see we have a site directory in here. And if I just list that, then you see it has a index HTML, sitemap XML, etc. So it just created a full website out of those markdown files that we have. So that's how it works underwater. I'm going to delete that directory again, site, because we want to deploy this to Azure. So how do we do that? I go into my Azure subscription here, and I go and search for static web apps, and I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to be putting it in a new resource group. Let me just zoom in here for you. Here's my subscription, and if you enter the name MkDocs Misha, then you see it creates a new resource group here for the static web app. So that's what I'll do. I want to put it in West Europe, and here I click Azure DevOps. My organization is this one. This is my project, and here is this MkDoc repository that I just created, right? So you do this, and then I pick the main branch for now. And for the build presets, as you saw, we used, as you saw, the MkDocs created an HTML website, so that's what we'll use here as well. Now the app location is going to be what we saw here. We saw site. So that's where I want to serve the content from. So we enter site here, and the rest we leave as default. And we can review and create this. So it's just going to create a free static web app for us. Now it's deploying. It takes a few seconds, and here we go. Our static web app is completed. It is not, like if I go to the URL now here, it is still live and waiting for the content. But if I go to my Azure DevOps organization, you see that there's a pipeline running here now. So this pipeline is now taking the contents of the GitHub repo and serving that as a web app. But there is something missing here. We are not actually generating the website yet, right? As you see here, it will fail. And let's see what it says. Yeah, the directory site is invalid. So we have to make a few adjustments on the pipeline. So if we go back to our repository, we'll see that the MkDocs repository now has a pipeline in it. See? So this is, you create the web app, you point it to the repository, and then Azure generates this pipeline for you. So if I go to my repo again and I do a git pull, we'll see that we have the pipeline here. So let's take a look at that pipeline. So this pipeline, it includes the main branch, and it's triggered by the main branch. So if I make commits to the main branch now, then it will run this pipeline. It will use an Ubuntu latest image, and it will check out the repository, and then it will take the site location, and it will build the web app out of it. And you see here that it has created an Azure Static Web Apps API token. This is done by Azure, and you can find this in your Azure DevOps organization. If you go to your environment, if you go to your library, you will see here that 2 minutes ago, a variable group for this static web app was created by Azure. So that's what this means. Now, in this pipeline, we have to still do a couple of things, because as we saw in the MkDocs guide, in order to generate the website, you have to run the MkDocs build command, right? So let's do that. We have to include a step here where it will actually build the MkDocs website from it, and then serve the contents of the site directory as the web app. So how do we do it? We go to the steps, and we add a new step. It's very simple. We just run a bash command, and we're going to run a few commands, but for now we'll just do it like this: pip install MkDocs, and then we do MkDocs build. So when we do this, then in this environment, so when we run the pipeline, a container is spun up, it will check out the repo, and it will run these commands, and then actually the site directory will be there. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to commit this. Commit and adjust pipeline. Push it to my repo. And now, because it's triggered on the main branch, we should see that the pipeline is running. So let's take a look. Pipelines. And here we go. It is running. We can take a look at what it's actually doing. It has installed the MkDocs, and it did the MkDocs build, as you see here. So now there was actually a site directory, and now the Azure static web app step is going to take the contents of the site directory, build a web app out of it, and make it available for connection. And here we go, the pipeline is finished. So if I go back to my web app now, and if I refresh, here we go, we have our MkDocs website. Doesn't that look nice? Here it says My Docs, it has everything. Okay, so let's give this a little bit more of content now. So we have our, this is the structure of the repository now. You have the pipeline file, you have the docs directory, and the MkDocs.yaml for the contents, for the configuration of MkDocs, excuse me. So let's start with changing the site name. So Misha's Awesome Docs. And then we are going to add some content. So let's go to the docs directory, and I want to create a document about running. So let's do running.md. And it's all markdown, so running, I really love running. It is very healthy. It is important to start slowly and build up from there. Okay, now we have a running document, and let's say we have another category and we call that diet. Then we actually want to create a directory called diet, and then in diet we have, for example, calories.md, and then we'll call this counting calories, and I'm just going to add some lorem ipsum here. So we have some text, and in diet we can also add, say, vegan.md, vegan diet, and then again we'll do some lorem ipsum. And let's say in diet we also have vegetables. Lorem ipsum. Okay. So now we have some more documentation. We added a running document and we had a subcategory. So let's push that to our repo. I open lazy git, add all of them, commit, and then add diet and running, and shift P, and it will push it to my repo. And the pipeline should run again. Pipeline is running. So it's going to run now. I'll just fast forward to when it's finished. And here we go. The pipeline has finished. And I go back to my MkDocs website. Refresh. And here it says Misha's Awesome Docs. And here we have our running document. I really love running. It is very healthy. And here we also have a diet subcategory with our counting calories and vegan diet subdocuments. So this is the standard theme of MkDocs, but one very popular theme for it is material. And I really like this one. I think this is also the one that is being used by Argo CD. So let's set that up. And it's also very easy. As you see here, all we have to do is do another pip install MkDocs material. And then we have to add the theme material to it. So let's just adjust our pipeline with that. We open our pipeline and it said we had to pip install MkDocs material. Let's just double check that. MkDocs material. Here we go. So we add that to the list of packages that we want to install. And then in our MkDocs.yaml, we have to add theme and name material. That's it. That should be everything. This should regenerate the website with a new theme. So then when we load the website here, we should have a bit of a different theme. Okay, so let's try that out. I go back, I open LazyGit, I add my changes, I commit, add theme, and with Shift P I push it. And the pipeline should run now. Let's take a look. Pipelines, here we go. It's running and I'll be right back. And okay, our pipeline has finished. So now when I refresh this page, it should have a completely new theme here. Refresh. Yes, and it worked. So now you see that the running page is located over here. And when I go to diet here, it has this counting calories and vegan diet and so forth. So you see how powerful this is. It's very easy to get going. All you need is a few markdown files. And the search functionality is also very good. So if I search for calorie here, we'll go here. If I go to health, it says running is very healthy. So it works really well. Now, lastly, now I've just been pushing directly to the main branch. So let's try and do this using a pull request. So, okay, we have created our MkDocs repository. Our team is adding all of the documentation to it. And you cannot just push to the main branch anymore. Now you have to add a pull request. So I have a team member and he started a different diet recently, for example. And, or no, let's do something else. Let's add, I added one running. Maybe someone likes climbing. So I'll do a climbing.md and I'll name this the Great Climbing Collection. Here we can collect links and resources for climbing. And let's add a search Google link, just improvising something. Just adding a link here. Okay. Now I've added this document and now I want to create a pull request. So I've been using LazyGit up until now, but let's do it the old-fashioned way. So I do git add dot, git checkout branch add climbing, git commit add climbing, and git push. And then you have to do the set upstream. Okay, so it added a new branch and now we should be able to create a pull request. So we go back to Azure DevOps, we go to our repo, And here you see you updated add climbing just now. So let's create a pull request, add climbing. We can see our changes. And here it is. Here is our pull request. So then someone from our team would come along and he would take a look and yeah, okay, this document looks great. We want to add this. So just to demonstrate, the pipeline is not running yet because we haven't committed to the main branch. There's just a pull request here. Okay, so we go to the pull request. Our team has reviewed it. Let's complete it. Complete the merge. And now after merging it, the pipeline will run. And after this is finished, we should have a climbing document to our awesome website. Okay, the pipeline is finished. Let's take a look at our awesome website here. We have welcome, running, and diet. And now we should, when I refresh here, there should be a climbing document added. And here we go, the great climbing collection. And here we can collect links and resources for climbing. And Google.com did not work because, oh yeah, I didn't add HTTP, so it's not actually going to navigate to Google. But anyway, our document is added, it all works. So here you see how easy, how quickly it is to get going with MkDocs on Azure. You just need a repository, you just need to set up a web app, and I mean, this is all the configuration that was needed for MkDocs in order to create a full website with a nice theme. It's so easy, and I highly recommend it. I think it's a great thing to do. It takes maybe 10 minutes to set up, and then your team can start collecting documentation, and we can review each other and deploy it automatically. It's just a great process, and I highly recommend it to everybody. And the great thing is like now this is just out on the internet, of course, but when you go to your web app, you can also configure it that you have Azure AD authentication towards it. So you actually you can't just access it directly from the internet. You actually have to log in with your Azure AD, and you have access control on that. You can decide who can view the documents and who cannot. And that's just a very nice way of shielding your documentation from the public if that's a requirement that you have. So hopefully this has been useful to you. Try it out. I'll be putting this sample code in my repo and I'll link it down below. Let me know if this was useful to you and if you would like to see me trying something else. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.